me to
Welcome,
restart that?
ladies and gentlemen, to our recap review of the hit, or new, or will be hit show
Mm-hmm.
from HBO IT. Welcome to Derry. It is the Culture Collective, powered by Big Go Belt. You know, Lou, you know who I am. I'm the man who does everything. And my co-host for this series, one is brand new to Big Go Belt on this side of the channel. He's done other stuff with Big Go Belt, but not the recap reviews that we're known for. But my other partner up there, Miss Amaya Desire. What is going on this evening?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Great to be back. Excited for some horror.
And my other co-host there, you may have seen him previously on Team JVS. He ain't there no more. It don't matter no more. You may have seen him on his own outlet. Jedi Mike, that don't matter no more. Mr. Michael, what's going on this evening, sir?
What's going on? What's going on? Happy to be here. Yes. This horror season. Yes.
So we are getting into this show, It Welcome to Derry, and a quick run back of what this show is. This is a prequel series to the It films and the It book. So it's a chance you're not going to know a lot of this stuff, but that's why we're here to school you on exactly what's happening with this show. So first thing I'm going to ask my co-host, how much do you all know about the myth of the It series and of Pennywise? Stop first with you, Isha.
Hey, listen, me and Pennywise, okay? Because I'm such a huge It fan. I tried reading that book when I was young. Obviously, I'm not telling nobody how old I am, but I tried to read it when I was younger. Did not finish it, never made it back. Just waited for the movies to come out, you know? But from what I do know, I know quite a bit. And it's always been like speculation amongst like conversations in terms of like what it actually is.
Exactly. What about you, Mike? What is your knowledge of It coming into this series?
So I am a reader of Stephen King, not a reader of everything, but I'm very aware of how connective this world is and everything. But Pennywise is one of my oldest childhood memories of watching the short television or film, you would call it, of It. And I remember that vividly watched that on a TV, and then years later, came out around my freshman year of college, the first one, part one, and then part two came in my sophomore year and everything, and then but I've been a big fan, and particularly with this is one of my favorite Stephen King stories and stuff, along with Dark Tower and everything, but this one definitely is on top.
All right, so I'll quickly say this. This show takes place in 1962. Why that's important is because the original It novel and movies kick off in 1989. Because according to the lore, Pennywise comes around every 27 years. So they picked it to have it go back 27 years so we can see a different time that Pennywise came out. Now, this is just the first season. It's already talks about what's going to happen down the line with this show and how they're going to go back 27 years for season 2 and then go back another 27 years for season 3. So that's something that we're going to see going on, or they're planning on how this works. But let's jump into this episode as it opens up with a character named Maddie, who we're meeting here for the first time as he sneaks into a movie theater to go see a film, gets caught in that movie theater trying to see The Music Man, which is a highly important film, and the way they present it in this episode. But after he gets caught, after he escapes the movie theater, he hitchhikes and gets picked up by a family on the side of the road. I'm going to stop right there. Start with you first, Isha. What did you just think about the initial setup of this introduction of Maddie with his pacifier, and the moment he got into that car with that family, and the moment the little girl pulled out that pack of liver?
So for me, you know, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I didn't see it coming for a second. Like the initial scene setup And then as soon as they ask him like anywhere, but when he says like, we'll take you home, just tell us where it is. And he's like, anywhere but here. A few things stood out for me. One, you realize that it's possible abuse. Two, the pacifier is a coping mechanism, right? And so the minute that I see, when they start to act a little weird, and now this girl is pulling liver and she's doing all these things and smelling it. It's for me, it was the instance, it was the whole finger situation, because that's a clear sign of not understanding and respecting personal space. But also you got the whole family is weird off this one scene. I could have took the little boy being a spelling bee champion, but the liver took it too far for me.
Exactly. Now, what did you think, Mike, when you saw him get into this car, and where did you think it was going when he got into the car?
Now, I think for me, I felt maybe there was outside factors that was going to probably affect the car being stopped by said entity, whatever. And you probably just showing, the Wonder Bread American, family in the 60s and stuff, but showing the underlying darkness behind that and everything. But then when you actually see that, no, he's affecting everybody in there, along with even just the child, always like spelling words and stuff, and where it's going to the wife was pregnant, and there was a lot of baby symbolism and infant symbolism in here throughout the entirety of this episode. But even then, him having the pacifier and infants, children, you are your most vulnerable. So I think it literally went back to just being your most vulnerable moment, and the pacifier kind of represents some sense of like comfort for him, but with seeing the liver and everything come in through that, it was just, I already thought, okay, my first set, I'm like, well, it's the 60s and it's white America. I'm like, hey, there could be a corner where there could be cannibals or something, maybe the real horror is America, not the clown, no, but no, it was the moment when she was like literally just put her fingers in his face and stuff. And then you also saw the child did the exact same technique with the eye going one way and one going the other when he's spelling. It's the same thing that Scar do when he's playing Pennywise, when he's like staring at you, one eye's going this way while the other one's looking directly at you. It's like, I think they probably animated that for that child, but that's just a sign of a signature that Pennywise is around. But yeah.
Now, I would say this, because this is the most interesting part of this car. What we always got to remember is that with us being in Derry, with this being a Stephen King novel, you actually don't know how that family is connected. Is that family connected to Pennywise, or is it connected to other characters that will be present in Derry? So I think that's the spooky element of it with this show, is you're not going to just focus on Pennywise, because that's not the real evil of it is Derry more than it is Pennywise, even though Pennywise is present in Derry. So we get to see the effects of everything that happens. Now, I'm going to run it right back to you, Mike. What did you think about the conclusion of the way this episode opens up? As all of a sudden, he mistakenly hits this mom's belly as he's trying to escape this car, as he's noticing all this weird stuff happening here. And she gives birth to a flying baby demon that eventually kills him.
You see, I already know, like I told my wife to pray before I watched this episode. I already knew what was going on. Children's part of the conversations right now in the stage we're in. And I'm just like, yeah, don't watch this, sweetheart. I thought this was, now I didn't know. I was thinking, okay, what's going to come out of the belly? Is it going to be like a balloon or a clown or whatever? We've seen Beetlejuice. We've seen a lot of baby horror, throughout this, of this past years and stuff and like that. So, but yeah, never thought that, the Demon Betty was also a continuing thread. I thought it was just because usually Pennywise would use different types of aspects of fear to lure children and enable to take them out. Some people using a lumberjack or whatever, gets forever like said situation. But this was, okay, you on that pacifier, I'm gonna give you actual baby here. So to me, I just feel like it was terrifying to see. The only thing I can probably remember HBO doing something on a practical level doing that is from House of Dragon season 1, when they had when Rhaenyra Targaryen had a stillbirth, and did that affect the blood and everything like that. Was very horrific to see, and then this just took it to another level. Just and I gotta give the shout out to the visual effects department on that, just because just very, the baby is very demented and everything like that. And I just it's gonna stay in your brain for a little bit after you watch it. It's like it's not going away.
Yeah, what did you think, Isha, when you saw that baby pop out of that lady? And not only did it pop out and look evil, just the way it presented when it was in the other little boy's lap for a while, and he was just staring at Maddie and not moving, and like he was waiting to attack. What did you just think about that whole setup?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was like, this is, first of all, like, great opening for sure in terms of getting people on edge, on the like brim, on the hook, essentially, right? But seeing this like demented, two-headed, you know what I mean, still got the umbilical cord, the mom is grabbing it, swinging it around, and then he gets that still moment where he's just there sitting in the son's lap, and I'm like, this can't be good. And so I was just like, what, I'm really asking questions as I'm watching. I'm like, yo, what does this mean? Like, where does this lead to? How do we figure out what's the next thing? So yeah, I just knew for sure. I was like, listen, it's funny that Mike was talking about the whole baby thing, right? Because like I'm literally in the midst of watching Conjuring with the husband, and I always say, I gotta rinse my palate after I'm done, right? I gotta be careful, make sure that the energy that I go to sleep with is good energy. But yeah, this is gonna be definitely holding people hostage to their seats, waiting for the next episode for sure. So yeah.
Now, the next thing we get is the first big reveal of the season, and that is, we get 4 months later, we get to a military base, and we get to meet Major, and I always want to say this name wrong. I even said it when I read the books, and that is Holland. Am I saying it right? One of y'all answer me here.
Oh, listen, I mean,
for the most part,
that's what I heard.
So, for you all that don't know, Major Holland is the grandfather of Mike Holland, which is one of the black boy from the original It series. So if you watch I think the movies, they showed the grandpa in It too, when he was talking to him. So this is him here, but this is him when he first arrives to Derry here, and we get to see him, and we get to meet his partner Russo. The only reason that this is important is because this whole scene is a lot of setup. From not just meeting Major Holland, you also meet a very interesting character, and it is Dick Halloran, and I think I'm saying his name right here. It's the other black man that's in the Jeep with them as they're driving off of the base. He is actually the character from The Shining. He has telepathic
powers. Yes.
So they are setting up again. This is what they do with Stephen King things. They setting up everything and setting up these storylines to introduce certain characters. So this is supposed to be a much younger version of this character before he gets to The Shining. So now we get to see exactly where possibly where his powers came from, and how he's able to use them as we get introduced to this guy in Derry. It's not much here to talk about, really. It's just really mainly set up. Mainly talks about that restricted area that they talked about as they were driving past it, and just them also bringing up that, hey, Major Holland's only on base for one day, and he's going to live off base and move to Derry. And you see the other military personnel like that. Oh, if you like boring life, you're going to love Derry. That's all a setup, because all of them know that's not true.
Yeah. I peeped that.
Next up, we just get the kids in school. This is when we get introduction to the other kids of it, and that is Teddy and Phil first, the two boys who they're talking about alien invasions, World War III, and not trusting this military base. Again, it's playing off the point that we're in the 60s. This is stuff that everybody concerned themselves with in the 60s here. What do you just think about the first introduction to these kid characters here? Whether it be the Teddy and Phil, or later on when we introduced to Lilly and her friend. What do you think about this introduction to these kids for this series? And I'll start
So
first with you, Isha.
one of my faves, right? And I'm we're still getting to know the characters, right? But who is the one who has the cool hair? His hair is curly. He's the
Teddy,
one that's
red,
like, okay,
the
I
redhead.
thought it was Teddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
First of all, I don't know who this kid is, but he is like the most serious a child actor I've seen in
Yes.
a while. I'm looking at him and hubby is watching with me and I'm like, this dude is amazing. Like I like, you know what I mean? Like, and for the first episode, I'm just like, yo, who is this kid? I love the dynamic in terms of how they have the boys in one space, the girls in another space. They're showing you like that friendship and what it looks like in two different dynamics, actually. And then they
Yeah.
show you what happens when it comes together. And so,
Mhm.
I think that it's really interesting how they decided to develop these characters in this particular episode because we see what happens. But I like the storyline in terms of how they show children and friendships and like what it's like to see bullying from one side, right? Or from from one
Mhm.
side and the other side, from what you're seeing in terms of like thinking that you should have went to the party and it's super true that kids really do take on a whole lot in terms of thinking certain things are their fault. But for them to be in
Mhm.
such a space where the other one is like, well, no, we couldn't have known, but still feeling that guilt. It's like
Yeah.
these children characters, like they're so emotionally like intelligent for
Mhm.
such a young age. But I mean, for me, I love seeing the different dynamics because it played out into the bigger scenery when they're all together.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mike, what did you think about the way all four of the kids were introduced? Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you get here is a representation of childhood trauma of again taking on self-loathing in the sense of thinking like, oh well, this is my fault. This is my fault.
Mhm.
And even when it comes with I forgot the black girl who works in the movie
I have
theater
her
and
name is written as Ronnie. I'm not
Ronnie.
100% sure. They say her name very quickly
Like
at the
quickly.
beginning, and I'm like, I think it's Ronnie or Ronnie. It's one of them two, though. But yes,
Yes.
the young
I
black
think it might be
girl at the
Ronnie.
beginning.
Yeah, because
Ronnie is
like
what I'm
she
thinking.
was
Yeah.
able to let the kid in the beginning of the episode, give him a pass because one of the
Yeah.
workers was looking
Mhm.
for him, and then so she protected him. But then again, that lead to his his own demise. So
Yeah.
and we're seeing basically where multiple moments throughout this episode where this kid has been involved in each of these kids in life some form of fashion as a friend or as a person they just interact with comes path to, and then he basically is the cornerstone to all these characters coming together.
Mhm.
And I felt that again to showing also again Macklin into this world of the 60s, also showing that the environment of I guess middle school you want to call it or high school, I think probably middle school, that that environment doesn't change in terms of kids having any of some insecurity, the gossiping, the friends are trying to go on conspiracy theories and other friends trying to be more serious, the parenting, strict parenting that's involved, and also the nonchalant parent as well, just like, hey, you do what you want to do. Because I was asked like, where
Mhm.
are these kids' parents at? And
Mhm.
I can just
Mhm.
They give you a quick answer for Maddie at the beginning
Mhm.
as you introduce to Ronnie and her dad. And when Kyle, the attendant, tries to get him, and he said, the Clemens boys, he said, oh man, let him go. You already understand the circumstance of his family. So that's letting you
Mhm.
know already trauma or something with his family. And that's part of the reason why when he got picked up by that other family and they asked him, like, where are we taking you? He said, anywhere but Derry. Like that's a real telling sign that, okay, something's going on at home here. But is that a
Right.
bigger play on exactly what's going on in Derry? And I think that's what plays the most off of these kids in the way they're presented early on in this episode. I think Isha said it perfectly, especially when they're taking on the death of a friend. As you see Teddy, like, man, he's been gone. It's been 4 months. Maybe he's still missing. You see that. And then Teddy
Mhm.
automatically goes to, if we would have just went to his birthday party, he would still be here. Because if you think about it, if all of them went to whatever birthday event he was throwing, all of them would have been by that car. all of them would have been snuck into the movie theater. So I think that's why these
Mm-hmm.
people are playing it on themselves. And I think that's a trope a lot with Stephen King and children. He plays them together that way because he doesn't present children as thinking as children. All his children think like adults would. Like
Right.
they have rational thoughts and rational feelings. And I think that's what we're going through here with Teddy, is that he's bothered that his friend is missing and he's blaming himself for it because the last time they could have done something to help him, technically all of them turned their back on him, which is a very interesting way to present it. But let's go back
Right.
one thing here, and that is when we first meet Major Holland and he meets this new squadron that he's part of, because this is clearly going to be a huge part of this show also, and that is
Yeah.
the immediate form of racism that he experiences from Colonel Majors. What did you think about the way the general, and this is supposed to be the 60s, with a black man against another white man, and you get the general coming in and correcting this colonel immediately, letting them know, oh, I'll court-martial you if you don't actually act right, down to the colonel saying, I got you next time, homeboy. What did you think
Yeah.
about the way
I
this
got you next
dynamic
time,
is gonna
brother.
play in this
Yeah.
series?
Yeah, brother.
Brother,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was, yeah, it was definitely, like you said, just spot on. Like, all right, so we're gonna go right here to this. I'm like, okay, cool. But what I love is, one, that he didn't shy away from it, right? Like, he was like, you're going to respect me. I am your superior. You know what I mean? And then the other guy coming in and following, saying, like, are we going to have a problem? So instantly, I'm like, okay, at least this is not your typical, like, letting it slide from either or, but, like, you know, like, facing it head on for me. And I'm thinking I'm assuming that's going to play a big role in the series. And then even down to the scene, you know, that comes up when he gets attacked. In my head, my instincts was like, okay, so what's happening here? Who are these people? Could be completely unrelated, but, you know, like once racism of any form is enters the building, you know, everything else that happens kind of gives a little bit of a suspect pause. So yeah.
Mike, I'm gonna ask you a different question though. See, this is how I switch it up, because I'm not asking everybody the same question. What did you think about the way they presented racism here versus the way we see it in the original It films? Because we see Mike 27 years kind of go through the same type of racism in Derry. What do you think the way they presented it here in contrast to each other?
Well, I mean, if you look at historically, like context-wise, the Civil Rights Act then came out to like 1964, and this is 1962. And what you're seeing, in my, you know, my dad, he was born in 59, right? And so he, you know, yeah, I know. So it's like he, you know, grew up in terms of this environment where it was still like, you know, the tension was heavy, but you're seeing progress. And that's why you saw the camaraderie in the military of like, oh, there was other white soldiers that were acting like, no, this is normal. They have another black person, you know, brother in arms and everything. But yet you still have that one or so outlier that's coming through. But then when you see 27 years later, well, again, you're only one or so generation removed from when all this was separated. And then it showed a realistic way of, I don't want to say not being heavy-handed on it, but just seeing how the generations pass down through children of the prejudice. And so I think that it was good that they showed it here, that you're seeing progress, but not in a ball. So yes, we know that, you know, it's the era that is in the 60s, but also knowing that no, because you're seeing more people of color here because we're pushing for you know, the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and this is 1962. So we're like 2 years away from, you know, actually reaching this milestone. So I think it was realistic to show that even in the conversation with the general, with the I forgot the person who's the grandfather of the other character.
Leroy. Leroy's the grandfather's name. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I call him Major, but it is his first name is Leroy.
Yeah. So when the general was having a conversation with Leroy, it was like he was literally asking, "Hey, what's your background? Where are you coming from?" and stuff, and understands like, hey, you know, having that level of respect. Like, you know what, you know, when I got up here, it wasn't hard, and I think that wasn't hard for you too, and just kind of showing that level of respect. Now, and back in my head, I was also thinking, okay, where's the hazing period coming through, right? Because it's the military, like, oh, yeah, because I've seen this before, even with like Watchmen, where officer who's buddy or stops someone from actually attacking this black dude. He's like, oh no, I got you, only to like butter up before he fries him, But
do you think
I
they would show a hazing period in this type of show? And the only reason, because you pointed out something very important here. With this being based in 1962, ain't no such thing as hazing. They don't like black people.
Right.
Right.
They ain't hiding it. They don't like black people. You just know they don't like black people. And even in the military format in this time period, black people just didn't get a lot of respect. I think it's important here that they point out the reason why he's a major. And they did. They said, because you fought in the Korean War, you flew a plane better than anyone has ever flown one before. So now you understand, oh, that's the reason you got promoted to this position here. Because other than that,
no way.
I don't believe there were too many black majors in that time period.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's what they're going to try to play off the most here. Because again, they already pointed to us and let us know, like, this is going to be a show that's going to deal with race, because that's what Stephen King deals with in most of his books. So we're gonna get that element of race also included in this show. It's just kind of interesting to see the way they're gonna play between using racism and racial stereotypes possibly as a horror element, along with Pennywise. Because there's other things that I know, just knowing the It lore. It's a black bar in its book that gets destroyed in this year of this story, and it's brought up in its lore, and I'm pretty sure they're going to show it on this show, and that's going to be something tough for a lot of people to watch. But it's also to show that Pennywise knows what it is to also use realistic visceral horror on people also to get to his end game. So that's why I bring up the race element, because that's going to be, I think, one of the biggest plays that we're going to get on this show. But now let's get to the actual horror elements of this show as one of the following scenes. Well, first we'll get to the scene with Maddie and Lilly as he takes her to the boys' secret spot. And this is him attempting to get connected with Lilly. And in turn, he attempts to hit on Lilly and kiss her. And she's like, "You're just my friend." This is also another rejection that they show before his birthday about how everything went. In the following scene, we get Lilly as she's just in her bathroom, about to get ready to take a bath. And she hears his voice in the drain. And as she's calling, saying, "Maddie, is that you? Can you leave?" And he said, "He'll never let me leave." And we see the fingers come out of the drain. I'm going to start asking you first, Isha. What did you think about the way they set this up? And the way now that she's hearing him in this drain, down to his fingers coming out of the drain as he feels like he's trying to escape or lure her in.
Yeah, I mean, such a classic scene, right? Like that's one of the most memorable scenes that I feel like I remember from the movie when I watch it, is that you have that moment where he's in the bathroom and you're hearing it, you get closer and closer, and this thing happens, right? You don't know if you're hallucinating, you don't know if it's real. And I mean, they did it in such a way that was very realistic in terms of her fear level, right? Because she is curious. We just saw her have the flashback of Maddie and feeling guilty, like, looking at the charm, of the turtle. And so for me, I was like, okay, yeah, this is spot on in terms of the direction. And like you said, like getting to the horror factor, because we had the two-headed, creepy baby. So now here we're gonna add something additional to the plate, but I think they did a good job in terms of setting it up and just the way that turns into her vulnerability to share with the guys. I like that factor.
Yeah. What did you think, Mike, of this first big this is the first reveal of Pennywise trope for the show?
Yeah, I think again it's the voices you're hearing and in small corners of the room or in the pipes, like, again, because that's where is in the sewers and the pipes. Is like that's how he kind of maneuvers and stays connected with everybody and stuff, and where the people float, and they I felt it was again going to not recreating the drain scene, but just kind of making a homage to that, but also it's just showing of someone trying to crawl out and seeing that the fingers is like, no, I'm still trapped here and I can't get out. And again, but it's enticing you to lean forward, which again, with how they go back to filmmaking, 101, how you create suspense, with your camera, with music, with with levels, creating that level of suspense, right? And I think they did a really good job doing that multiple times throughout this episode.
Then the following up we get, and this is just when Lilly decides to tell the boys, as Amaya pointed out, everything that's happening here, and we see the boys immediately don't believe her. And then we get the following setup as we get Teddy as he sits at his table with his very Jewish family, because they're having matzo ball soup, which not tasty at all. But as they're sitting around having it, and he asks his father, is it possible that a kid can be kidnapped and held in the sewer? And his father immediately decides to dismiss his comments and point to him reading comic books as the reason he would ask this question. But then he also does something that is very odd. He decides to tell his son one of the most horrifying stories humanly possible that really happened, of how Jewish people used to have their skin taken off and they were created into lampshades. Do I know if that's 100% true? I have the slightest idea. But I don't think you should be telling a child that at a dinner table to scare the bejesus out of them. But later on that night, we get Teddy as he's reading his Batman Detectives comic, because I did pinpoint that was a Batman comic that he had in his hand.
Yeah.
But as the light keeps on flickering out in his lamp, the final time he turns it on, and it is a skin lampshade that absolutely terrifies him. What did you just think about the setup of that jump scare, Mike?
No, I thought that was, again, good, because again, at the time, you're representing, again, traditional families, and especially a Jewish family, and him preparing for his bar mitzvah is very important. And then so here, just being a very strict father and just saying, no, I'm gonna keep, the part of the bar mitzvah is transitioning to become a man. So it's like, all right, I'm just gonna tell you this. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna tell you, just tell you this history. And we as Jewish people, we more than anybody that can know about the horrors of this world. And I'm like, well, there are somebody, but it's just like I've seen this common trope even with what I keep forgetting the black kid's name from the original when his grandfather.
Literally, he is named you. You are him.
Okay, it is Mike. All right, okay. Yes, I knew that just as his grandfather was pressuring on him about the horrors of of the world because of racism. So it was like there is parallel in there. But again, in the 60s, that everybody that this generational trauma is being passed down, not by choice. It's by it is literally being force fed and down to these children, down onto the next generation, and creating that. And again, I just think they did a realistic way, like where it happened on the dinner table. That's how it happened. Yeah. Wife not gonna say nothing. Older brother not gonna say something. And even the older brother discriminate, like, hey, I don't know. I can't believe we're related. Like
exactly. And speaking of Jewish traditions, Isha, I'm gonna ask you a different question here. What do you think about the war in Gaza? I can't help it. That was too easy to say.
Somebody come get this man. Come get him now. Okay.
Oh, goodness gracious. But what did you just think about this overall setup? Because I think this was a huge... I love the way they set up this jump scare of him constantly turning off the lights, because you would possibly think that a demon or something would pop into the room and not exactly what his dad was telling him about to pop up.
I mean, I think it's a good transition because although they could have used something else, right? I feel like it's realistic to say, like, if you tell a kid a horror story at dinner, chances
There you
are
go.
when things start happening, they're gonna actually think about that horrible thing you just told them. You know what I mean? So I
Yep.
was like, okay, this is cool. I remember hearing things that I probably shouldn't have heard or seen things at a young age. And as soon as I couldn't sleep at night, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, it was those exact things that I had heard that I wasn't supposed to. So yeah, very realistic. And I like the setup because I thought, I mean, I knew it was coming, right? And so I figured, oh, these are gonna be the third or fourth, you know. And so seeing it
Yeah.
happen, I'm like, okay, a nice transition for that to say that
There
it's
you
a
go.
family horror story and such.
There you go. Yeah. And here we're just gonna close out Major Leroy Hanlon and everything that happens with him. Next up, we get him meeting with the general, and this is Mike alluded to the conversation earlier that they have in this room, and it's here we get the reason why he brought him on, as he says, like, you know, you fought in the Korean War, you flew these planes, it's great, and we understand that Major Hanlon suffered an injury that he refuses to talk about because of what that war did to him. But here the general tells him, I brought you in to fly a brand new B-52 bomber that we have, and you're the perfect person to fly this plane. Then we transition to his next scene with Major Hanlon as he is attacked while he's asleep by 3 people who are asking for the specs of the plane that he's supposed to be flying here. So I'm gonna ask you, Isha, what did you just think about the way this was set up? Did you think we were going to get a horror moment here with the Major, or did you expect exactly what happened? And how do you feel about it never being revealed who these 3 people are?
So I definitely feel like I was looking for the horror. You know, this particular scene felt a little off to me, only because, right, he's still on base. So that means that these people had to somehow make it through all of the defenses that they have as military, find out where he's staying, and then show up to him and like beat him up. So it's just, to me, it just seemed very, very odd. And it all, I thought about it when Mike was like, where's the hazing? And I'm like, is this, you know, in my head, like, is this the hazing? But it just seems like, and it almost feels like it feels like the thing is like, can we trust you with this information, or will you leak it and or give it to our enemies, kind of situations. But I don't understand what's the need to that unless they're doing it to everybody, because old boy was down the room comfortably sleeping where he heard commotion. So
yeah,
interested to see how this flows into the next episode. But I was looking for the horror here just because of the you know, the future dealings, I guess, that we know exist. But this scene makes sense in terms of how it's placed. It just felt a little odd because, like I said, you're on base. So you're trying to tell me that the defenses are down and they were able to get to you that quick.
Yeah, and that's why I'm gonna ask Mike here. What do you think about this setup here? Because it's clear and obvious it is a setup, because there's no way you're going to sneak onto a military base to do this. So what do you think about the setup, and what do you think the point of the setup is, Mike?
I don't know. I think, I mean, again, going back to the hazing was about, I think it's just meant to, like, oh, the black general is here, okay, let's mentally break him. But also, I think the general is actually a part of this, because again, he knows the story personally, what's going through, knows about injury. So, like, let's say we don't know what injury it is, and therefore, let's say, okay, like, ironic, let's say he has a leg injury, and then all of a sudden someone come in and he hits him on the leg with the pipe or something, right? Again, try and mentally break him and stuff. And then the fact that the homeboy came in, show up, but not only that, when they were fighting each other, the hesitation, he had a gun, but he didn't shoot it. And so it's like, I'm not trying to harm you, I'm just trying to scare you. And then, but then they're like shocked, like, wait, why is he not, not giving us the secrets and stuff? It's like, oh, okay. You know, so it's like, yeah, he's scared now. Let's give him a secret. It's like, you gotta have to pull the trigger. It's like 1, 2, 2.5, 2.25. But yeah, I think that definitely will reveal who the identity of it, because it's easy to think that it was the white dude that didn't salute, but I think there's more to that. Again, it's connected. It's not just one. It's just it's more people that are part of that, especially how they're all dressed up and everything like that. It's just like, no, you don't go and base like that. It's part of they're trying to do something.
Yeah, that's why I think I don't think it's an outside entity. I believe this is someone on the inside that wanted him to tell them this information, because if they regurgitated this information to the general, they would have to get rid of the major. Because the major's the only one that would know the specs of the plane. So if anyone else could tell the general the specs of the plane, then they can make it look like, well, he's taking this information and he's just doing whatever he wants to with it. I think this was an attempt to get rid of the major. I think that these people came in there thinking, if we get this information, we can use it against him, and then he'll be gone. This is the other element that we talked about earlier of racism really also playing a horrific role in this show, along with Pennywise, and the way they're going to have that play as a duality against one another to really amp up the fear level of it. Because again, this is something that Pennywise can always use to play off of. And I think a lot of this is just set up for things that in the future he'll be able to use. And even if we go back to the way the other black man, Dick, who was in the car as he was driving the major and the general around, the way he kept on looking at the major like, I need to tell you something, but I can't tell you because there's too many white people around.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely saw it. The stare down. Yeah.
Because he's telepathic, he's probably reading minds and everything anyway. So he knows exactly what's going to happen. So I think, again, these are the things to pay attention to as we get further on in the season. And they're just setting up this character. Mike, don't you? That's exactly how he was looking at the whole time.
I cannot.
But next up, we have back to the children here, as this is when, after everything happens, Teddy is absolutely terrified. Phil thinks he's next, because now that happened to Maddie, Lilly done seen it. Feels like I gotta be next. And this is when they decide to do research on Maddie and go to the library. And we also get Jenny is introduced, who I don't know whose little sister this is. It was just a random little white girl who just came along with a little trip.
It's what's his
is it Teddy's sister? Yeah, I'm about to say because I didn't see her eating multiple soup with the family at the table, so it couldn't have been Teddy's sister. But
not Teddy, or it's the other one, the other young
Phil.
boy.
Phil's the other one. As they all go looking up this information on Maddie, and they find out that the police think it is a homicide because how long he's been gone. But they also realize the police have been questioning the theater owner because that was the last police he was present to. And this is where they go meet Ronnie. And this is where they have the conversation with her about, hey, we're trying to find out more information about Maddie. And she's mad. And she says, do you know how many police, again, showing a racial element, have come around and questioned my dad about him going missing? And this is when Lilly points out where we just did something about a drain and we heard the noise. And now this is when Ronnie lets them know she's heard the same thing, but she's heard something different. She said, I don't know if it's Maddie, but I'm hearing children laughing in the drain. What did you think about here as now we get to see the core group of kids, or what we believe to be until the end of the episode, the core group of kids here as they're getting around, and this is when you get to reveal that something weird is going on. What did you just think about when they brought Ronnie in, and just the kids coming to this conclusion that something is weird is going on in this town?
Yeah, man. I was ready. I was ready. I was like, oh, they together. Oh, it's a thing. It's about to happen. And then the end of the episode came, and I was like, God damn. Okay, just stole my joy. But seeing again, back to you said like that racial element, her saying, well, do you know how many people came over here and was like blaming my dad or questioning my dad and this and the third, and then taking them to the movie theaters, and it's being like, oh, isn't this breaking and entering? No, like it's not, they own, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's just entering. But seeing that transition was like, we have this thing in common. I may not necessarily like you, don't necessarily know anything about you, but we obviously are having the same problem. Let's go and see what that song means, because this is what I've heard and this and the third. So very creepy setup for what's to come at the end of the episode. And by golly gee, Stephen King. You know, you never know what to expect, but when you get it, you're
Exactly.
like, yeah.
Exactly. Mike, what did you think about the initial setup before we get to the explosive ending, but the initial meetup of all the kids together as they begin to tell this story, and all of them realizing, wait a minute, it has to be something going on in this drain. Because we all ain't just hearing kids running around and playing in the drain and it not be something going on.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's what basically tricking the viewer, like, oh, okay, here's the group of kids for following the season, and stuff, only to to subvert expectations. Like, no, like, and but yet we're gonna give you this time with this, this kid child with with his family, with his Jewish family. We're gonna give you this time with these two best friends, just trying to come up with this conspiracy, what's going on and whatever. We'll give you this random innocent little girl there, but. And then you think, hey, any bonus off the table, kind of setting the standard for the rest of the season that, hey, anybody's off limits. So don't get too attached, even though the hands attached, Yeah.
And finally, we get to the explosive finale as all the kids decide to go to the movie theater and watch the Music Man to find out this song that they all keep on hearing. And as the movie plays and we hear the song, and they identify that's the song I'm hearing in the drain, we see Maddie on screen with the family that took him at the beginning, all standing around listening to the Music Man as he's singing. And then you hear the kids yell at the screen for Maddie, and he pays them attention and starts walking to the screen with what appears to be a baby,
a creepy baby.
As he walks to the screen. And this is where I think their worst fears come to life for all of them were having, which is when Maddie gets to the screen and they say, come on, you can escape, you can come out. And he says, no, this is your fault. None of you showed up when I needed you to show up. So this is all your fault. And as they look shocked, we see Maddie's head go down, and then we see his face change in the shape of Pennywise before releasing this monster baby out of the screen. And this baby wreaks havoc and destroys everything before even talking about the explosiveness of what this baby monster does. What did you just think about the way they set it up from the movie playing, from the song in the movie playing, to seeing Maddie on the screen and the way he reacts to them and telling them, this is your fault? Did you think, okay, did you think it was going to go to the level that we get at by the end of this scene? Or did you think this was just going to be a nice setup for future episodes in this season? I'll start first with you, Mike.
Again, I thought, in Stephen King nature, again, anybody is expendable, but also we're going to put these children in very strange situations. But also, I think this scene was a cool callback to the first Pennywise, of them watching the the reel and everything, and then you see Pennywise coming out, and then you think they're gonna recreate that scene. They're like, no. And I'm glad that they did not show Pennywise at all in this episode, and kind of teasing up, like, he's here. But you were gonna give you the presence of him just seeing the child smile in this very, clownish, grin and everything, as just a tease that, hey, no, you're in this atmosphere of that, and it's kind of good to cool to see how he evolved in terms of of getting his victims. Because then sometimes he just used the same method, like, I'm gonna come through TV this time. Now, okay, or and stuff, and now they got a new invention. Now I'm gonna come out of the stereo, or something,
exactly.
But yeah, it's showing that, and I think with that concept of where they move forward with either season 2 and 3 of going back 27 more years, it'd be interesting at what new ways he would do to actually get his victims or attack these children as the era and generation is changing. This should be interesting to see, because it gives, as much as you think the environment might be limiting them because of we're going backwards, but if anything, it's creating more possibilities just for an audience member to
Yeah.
watch, interesting ways that this can happen, and using your imagination. But yeah, I thought it was very creative what they did there.
Yeah. Isha, I'm going to ask you, what did you think about the level of gore that they do with these children? The way they close out these children in this episode.
Man, I was not expecting that. You know what I mean? I feel like Stranger Things gave us like a good couple episodes before they started going crazy, right? And maybe even a full season. But I was very, very shocked that more of them did not make it out. I mean, even especially the little girl, right? And again, you're building a bond with these kids. The first episode, you're thinking, okay, here they come united together. This is the four, and then they're ripped up. But instantly, once the black girl makes it out, I'm thinking to myself, this is gonna be messy for her father, right? It's gonna be messy for her dad because of that racial factor, the fact that Maddie has already gone missing, and that has already wreaked havoc. So to see this in such a gory detail, such a mess, yeah, I was like, wow. Again, me and the husband are watching, and I'm literally like, WTF. Like, I was not expecting that at all. So very shocked that he took it there, but also very not shocked that he took it there on the first episode either.
Yeah, especially, I think that's the key part to bring up, is the racial element of this. 3 dead white children, dead in a theater owned by a black man. I don't know how that's going to be positive for anybody. But also, just to show this level of gore, this is the curveball that I think they wanted to show with this series, is that you need to expect unexpected. You thought you were introduced to the kids who would help defeat Pennywise, and they're like, nope, not at all. But you're going to be introduced to brutal killings just to show you that this isn't the series. This isn't the films. So it's going to present itself differently. As Mike said, also, it's about not presenting Pennywise at all. Like, they're like, no, there's going to be different things. Again, the town of Derry is the problem here. Yes, Pennywise is controlling a lot of this, but he has so many different elements of fear that he can use to destroy people in this town. And for this monster baby that he already used to kill one of their friends, he has that same friend release this baby and kill 3 more kids, down to that arm left on Lily's arm of Jenny as she was holding on to be saved. That is one of the most brutal opening scenes you're going to see out of an HBO series. But that is it. Welcome to Derry. Mike, what are your final thoughts on episode 1?
Final thoughts: if you are a Stephen King fan, you're going to eat everything from beginning to end the show, from start to finish, and I'm very intrigued to see how this season is going to go. And I think it's great in terms of congregating more, using already existing IP, but expanding on it in a more massive way, where you're connecting other properties to it to a point that make it interesting and not just a quote unquote cash grab or cheap spin-off show, and everything that actually has meaning and purpose here. And if you're a book reader too, also make sure encourage reading and all that stuff, because definitely Easter eggs in there, especially with turtle.
The turtle is a big Easter egg for Stephen King books. For a lot of people, if you know, that's something you need to pay attention to, because that is a huge Easter egg normally with Stephen King books.
Yeah. So, other than that, I'm very intrigued to see the rest of the season, even though I'm going to proceed with caution, because again, there's only so much you can take on a given watch. So, yeah.
Amaya, what are your final thoughts on episode 1 of Welcome to Derry?
Man, I'm ready. I'm ready for the roller coaster ride. This ride feels like that Six Flags one. You know, the one where you like are up in the air and then it just drops you.
Six Flags. All of them are scary.
Well, listen, I am sorry that was your experience, but yeah, it definitely feels like Oh yeah, it definitely
Harley
felt like
Quinn.
that. It felt
Yes.
like it put you up there and dropped you. I feel like for anybody who's gonna watch, you need to be strapped in and like hold on to those straps. You know what I mean? Because it's definitely gonna take you for a ride. If this is episode 1, I can't even imagine what episode 2 is going to look like. So I'm definitely interested in it, and seeing that these aren't the kids, right? I'm interested to see what next batch of characters we will get and how many takes it's going to take us to get to the 4 who are willing to stand up to Pennywise and stand up to Derry, for that matter of fact. So yeah, very interested and excited.
And audience, tell us what you think of episode 1 of Welcome to Derry. Tell us what you think about the introduction of Major Leroy, who's a huge grandfather character of someone in the Losers Club from the original It series, and how you're expecting it to advance for him in this season. Let us know what you think about Lilly. They focus a lot on this character in this episode here, down to bringing up her father and something happening to her father, which led her to have to go to a home of something of some form that she's terrified to go back to, and what happens now that she has to deal with the ramifications of the end of the episode. And finally, what do you think is going to happen to Hank, Ronnie, and this movie theater and his business, as now this is a second tragedy that's going to be contributed to him, and how is it going to present itself to the rest of the public in Derry? So like, comment, subscribe to the Culture Collective, powered by, fueled by Big Gold Belt. Anything else? I feel like I should be saying something else.
No,
I always feel like I should be saying "and just like that," but I can't say it just like that. That show's over.
I'm not
now.
doing this with you.
But welcome,
y'all know where to find us.
To Derry.
Yes,
Please,
the definitely gonna be a hit show. So next time, y'all.